The Olympics are absolutely terrible. Let me explain. The Olympics used to demonstrate a nation's excellence by highlighting their greatest athletes in competition. But recently, it seems that the games have become dull and are completely driven by corporate greed and sponsorships. All the while not having an accurate representation of all the nations across the globe and having a lasting negative impact on the environment. These games especially affect the cities they're hosted in. The games primarily drain resources from public funds, forcefully move homeless populations, and lead to overwhelming amounts of pollution. So what's the solution to this? Some groups have proposed hosting the games less often, but that doesn't really fix the issue. Others claim they're using renewable and cleaner energy, but these actions usually don't get outweighed by the other poor climate decisions these cities make. The only solution that seemed viable to be successful came from this guy. The City Beautiful YouTube channel published a video explaining all that is wrong with the Olympics and how the solution was to create 6 permanent host cities to rotate between for the future of the games. This solution reduces the amount of single-use products that is generated from the Olympic Games every year. Instead of having to build up new cities every 4 years, you have 6 set cities that already have the best infrastructure in the world for the games. This won't only make the games more entertaining to watch, it'll be better for the athletes, better for the people attending the games, and better for the climate. Now this video was released back in 2018, so I made a couple updates to his proposal. I switched out a couple of the cities and expanded on the depth of how this transition would work. In my proposal, the Australian host city would be Brisbane instead of Sydney. This is because they recently won the bid for the 2032 Summer Games. These games will act as the beginning of Phase 1 of my proposal. Phase 1's focus is building up these 6 Olympic cities and making sure that they could turn a profit, because the Olympics do not have the best track record of making money. In fact, the only game to have made a profit in the past 60 plus years was the 1984 Los Angeles Games. Now, in order to ensure that these cities continue to make money, they're going to remain open even during the years that they are not hosting the games. For example, let's say the 2036 Summer Games are happening, but you live in Italy. You're not going to reasonably fly to Rio just to attend the games. What you can do instead is go to the Turin location. There they're going to have merchandise, food, and activities to be able to get the experience of the Olympics without actually having to travel there. This will generate revenue by utilizing the city's already existing infrastructure. This not only will save consumers money, but it's also going to reduce the amount of emissions by reducing the amount of people that have to travel far lengths to get to the games. The extra business generated from merchandise, food, and other sales should be plenty to keep all of these host cities in the black. Phase 1 will go something like this: the 2032 Brisbane Games, the 2034 Pyeongchang Games, the 2036 Rio Games, 2038 Turin Games, the 2040 Cape Town Games, and finally finishing off Phase 1 with the 2042 Calgary Games. And Phase 2 begins with the 2044 Brisbane Games. The only difference between Phase 1 and Phase 2 are spotlight nations. So now, additionally to the actual host city's culture that gets promoted, 2 other nations' cultures will get promoted. One of the nations will be a paid slot. For example, if the United States wanted to bid for the 2044 Brisbane Spotlight Nation, they could. The money from the bid would go to the host cities to help alleviate any of the financial strain from hosting the games. The second Spotlight Nation will be chosen at random from the long list of countries that have been unable to host the games or get accurate representation in the games. During the televised broadcast of the games, these 2 nations' cultures and landscapes will be highlighted, thus drawing more tourist attraction towards them in the coming years. And the total revenue split from the games will look something like this: 40% goes to the host city, 20% goes to the Spotlight Nation, 20% goes to the non-paying Spotlight Nation, and the remaining 20% goes into a fund to aid underrepresented countries and help them send athletes to the games. This would allow even more representation for previously underrepresented countries. The other host nations will continue to remain open in years that they are not hosting, and they get 100% of whatever profit they generate from their city. And Phase 2 is the final phase of the plan. So the first rotation of Phase 2 would end with the 2054 Calgary Games, and the Olympics will just continue to rotate between those host cities going forward. So what do you think? Comment below if you think this would be a good change to the Olympic Games.